G'day, it's Heath here from pickinglessons.com. In this guitar lesson we're going to take a look at a very pretty O'Carolan tune by the name of George Brabazon. We're playing this in a fingerstyle arrangement. We're in the key of G, open position. This is about an intermediate level. Right hand's not too complicated if you've fingerpicked before, but the left hand is a little bit more challenging. We have some challenging positions for the left hand in the open position and up the neck. In a moment, we're going to take a look at part A of this arrangement here in this video, but if you head to pickinglessons.com, you better get yourself a copy of the chart that we're working from, so the tablets are there. You'll also find part 2 of this lesson where we cover part B and break down the hand positions needed there. You'll also find a play-along track that you can use to practice once you get to know the tune as well. pickinglessons.com. Okay, let's start out with a slow playthrough of part A, and we'll break down what we need to focus on as part of this tune. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so firstly for the right hand, if you've fingerpicked before, there's nothing crazy. What I'll mention though is that obviously our thumb is playing those bass notes, our fingers, we're playing some arpeggios like in the first measure where we're going to use the 1, 2, 3 fingers. Pretty straightforward stuff. When we come across melody notes all on the one string, try and alternate between 2 fingers. That could be index and middle, or it could be middle and ring. It doesn't really matter. Try to develop an alternating routine in your playing rather than perhaps just one finger playing a single string. When we get to that, I'll show you what I mean. In the left hand though, we've got some challenging positions, and what we're really going to focus on is trying to use that little finger as efficiently as possible. For example, our first G position here in measure 1, we have this pull off on the C note there with our first finger. So if we start our G chord like this with second and third fingers, that is a challenging stretch. So the way we're going to approach it is our third and fourth fingers. So from the pickup notes, and we get that same thing in measure 2 again, but we're going to hold that hand position. So little finger for the pull off at the pickup, and little finger in on the D note, allowing for the C pull off to be much more comfortable. Little finger. And a good example there of 2 notes on the same string, so the A and the G, trying to use 2 fingers, try to develop that into your playing. So notes on the same string, alternate fingers. Could be index and middle, could be ring and middle. Okay, so little finger nice and strong there, third finger on that bass note of the G. Moving on to the A minor, we're going to do a similar thing. So A minor position. Nice little arpeggio there. Now into the single string. So alternating between 2 fingers on the second string, but also little finger there on fret 3. So if you're a player who tends to avoid your little finger, you're going to find this challenging. If your little finger's all good, as comfortable as the others, you're going to be fine. It's not that tricky if you've been working with your little finger. That's all good. But if you've been avoiding your little finger, I would really suggest that you try and use that in this arrangement, because it is much more challenging if you're trying to avoid your little finger. It actually would make it quite difficult to play. So little finger is really important. So A minor again. Onto that D note there. We don't have to take anything off that way. We get to leave our A minor position. Little finger comes in on the D. That measure's played again. Alternating on the one string in your right hand. Now here the C position, same deal, little finger in there on the D note, alternating on the same string with 2 fingers, little finger on the GB, third and fourth fingers. So challenging hand positions. Notice my thumb is quite low. I'm not holding my thumb up above the neck like I perhaps would, or a lot of players do while we're playing open chords. Certainly that's great for that, but for what we're doing here, you really need to have a strong hand position with your wrist down. It certainly helps having your thumb, imagine there was a dotted line down the halfway point. Somewhere around there with your thumb on the back of the neck, with your wrists down and forward, helps those fingers stretch out and get up over the strings. little finger's in position, second finger's in position there for that G chord. So realistically, from the beginning, we're trying to hold that hand position. There's your G position, now your A minor. Just helps us reach that little finger across. What do we got next? Then the C position with the G and a B. So really maintaining that wrist position there, wrists slightly forward, thumb lower behind the neck, lets those fingers arch out, and a strong little finger. Moving on into measure 6 now. Alternating those fingers in your right hand, otherwise pretty straightforward using that little finger. These chord positions are a guide. You don't need to hold the entire chord. We're really only needing to hold what we're playing. So keep that in mind too, that C position just with the third finger there to start with. Bringing in the melody notes as you need them, and then the same for the A minor. Moving on to measure 7, same deal. Second finger comes in for those melody notes, third finger on that low G, thumb nice and low behind the neck so your wrist can arch forward. So the G in measure 7, alternating in the right hand, D with an F sharp, with that hammer on there, second finger. Finishing off on the G there before we hit the repeat to go back and play part A again. So this arrangement of George Brabazon is fairly straightforward, but there are some challenging techniques if you're not used to it. Firstly, that hand position when using your little finger nice and strong and keeping your wrist and thumb slightly down. Alternating your fingers on the right hand if you can, rather than just using perhaps one finger on a single string, two fingers on the single string. Otherwise, the fingerstyle part of this is fairly straightforward, just some arpeggios and whatnot. Strong hand position, that's the main thing I think you need to work on here. Get to know the tune slowly, keep the chords clean, hold on to the notes as long as possible. Letting those notes ring throughout is really important. Until we change chords and change positions, let everything kind of just continue to ring. That's part of the charm of this style of music. Alright, so pickinglessons.com, you're able to get this tab we're working from, but next part of this lesson we're going to cover part B. So jump on over to pickinglessons.com and I'll see you there.